Hi, welcome to the libraries program, how to design a 3D file of a photo frame using Tinkercad. My name is Kenny and I'm the librarian that will be your host today. So Tinkercad is a free online website that you can sign up for. You just need an email address and create a username, and you will have an account. Tinkercad allows you to create a 3D file that can then be printed out on a 3D printer. The library has several 3D printers that you can use for free to print out your 3D files that you create on Tinkercad. You can reserve the 3D printers to make sure that they'll be available when you're coming in. A reservation is not necessary. However, if you come in and they are available, you're welcome to use them. We have 3D printers at both South San Francisco libraries, the one on West Orange Avenue, as well as the one on Grand Avenue. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with me being on the Tinkercad website. So this is the main page for Tinkercad. Tinkercad does have a pretty good tutorial series that teaches you the basics of Tinkercad. I definitely recommend that you go through those, although this recording that you're watching right now will go over a lot of what the Tinkercad would show you. To get to the lessons, I believe you want to go to classrooms, or no, I take that back, it's resources. So you want to go to resources on the far right here and click on Learning Center. And this is, there's a lot more lessons than just these three. If you click on View All, you can see that there's a lot more. And the lessons end with you creating some pretty cool designs. So if you follow these tutorials, you'll have several cool things to print out already. I'm going to go back to 3D design and click on Start Tinkering. Okay, this brought me back to the page that I started Tinkercad on. This is where it'll show you all of the files that you've worked on. Oh, actually, maybe an easier way to get to the tutorials is this tutorials button down here on the left. So yeah, either way would work. I'm gonna go new just to start a brand new project. Okay, so when you start a new Tinkercad project, this is what you're going to see. This work plane um, kind of represents the build plate of the printer. So you want to make sure that your designs are on this work plane, or at least part of it is. Up here, it always gives you a random name for your project. I'm going to go ahead and change this to picture frame. Hit enter, and that renames it. So it's a much more meaningful name, and it'll be easier to tell what this file is when I'm looking at it in my list of files that I have. Okay, so just to go over some basics of Tinkercad, you have different shapes over on the right hand side here. You can drag them onto the plane, or you can just click, and then you'll see this outline of a box. It's going to be an outline until you left click again, and then it will place it down wherever you click. So one thing that I want to point out is don't worry about the colors of the objects in Tinkercad. The color of your printed file is going to be dependent on what color filament you load into the 3D printer, and it does not matter whether this is red, whether it's orange, whether it's purple. The colors in Tinkercad are just to kind of help you distinguish between different objects. So we'll stick with the default red. So some things that you can do with an object. Well, maybe first I should start by explaining how to change your view. So you can use this box in the top left of the screen to change your orientation. You can either click and drag it with your mouse, and that will rotate it. If you wanted to go to the front, you could just click on the front and it'll go like this. You can also use arrows to turn it, and that will put you directly in that direction. Another way that you can change your viewing angle is to hold down the right mouse button and then drag your mouse cursor around, and you can change your view that way. Another useful thing to know is you can zoom out and in. So if you scroll down on the wheel on your mouse, it'll zoom out. And then if you scroll up or forward on the wheel, it'll zoom in. Okay. So you'll see there's really 4 different icons here that you can use to adjust the box in some way. So there's these white corner ones that will increase or decrease the size of your box in all directions. So you can see doing this, it doesn't increase the height, but it does increase the length and width of your box. I think it started out at 2020, something like that. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Okay. There we go. Back to 2020. And then these smaller black dots will just increase the size of your object in one direction. So let me zoom out a little bit, and then you can see it's just expanding lengthwise. Another way that you can adjust the size, so let's say I want to go back to the original 20. I could just click on the white box with the number on it, and I can type whatever value I want into it, and the box will change to that size. If you click on Edit Grid, you can see what unit of measurement Tinkercad is using. So the 20 in this case is referring to millimeters, but you can work in inches and bricks. I'm not sure what bricks is. I would stick to either millimeters or inches, whatever is, more makes more sense for you. Okay, so the last two that you will want to know is this black cone shape at the top here. This basically doesn't increase the size of the object in any way, but it does increase how far up and down the box is. So you can see I lifted it up, so now there's space between the work plane and the box. Zoom out a little bit. We want this to be 0, to be this number right here is what you want to be 0. That lets you know that you are on the work plane. Anything below the work plane, it will be negative. You can see it's -1, and I'm a little bit below the work plane. And any positive number in that box means that I'm above the work plane. So I'm at 0, now I'm at 1, and I'm a little bit off of the work plane. So we'll go ahead and put that back to 0. All right, and then lastly, there's these curved arched arrows. This basically lets you rotate the object in any number of directions. So I could go ahead and, turn this 90 degrees. It's a box, so that doesn't really make much of a difference. But if I had designs on these sides, then, I might want to rotate it. But so you can see, you could rotate it this way. And if you wanted it to be like at an angle, for example, you could leave it like that. Okay, so we'll just go back to 0 there. Okay. Okay. And I think, so that's the basics of Tinkercad. There are more advanced concepts that I'm going to be going over, but that is part of the design of the photo frame. So I may just start designing the photo frame, and then when I get to those more advanced parts, I'll slow down again and explain things a bit more. Maybe before I go into the making of the photo frame, I'll just show you over here. So right now, this is set to basic shape. So you have the box, you have a cylinder, you have, like a roof shaped object, you have a cone. You can choose different categories here. So if you go into like creatures and characters, you can see that there are animals that you can add in, some people, some accessories, design starters, just more complex shapes that you can choose from. So I definitely would recommend looking through there. If you want text, this changed, I think, recently from when I first learned Tinkercad. When I first learned Tinkercad, there were individual letters that you could drag onto your work plane. I think that option might still exist, but I know that you can also just drag this text shape. They categorize it under basic shapes, and you can change what the text is right here. So if you wanted to put your name, for example, I could type Kenny, and that text has changed to Kenny. You could also just make it like one letter, K, and then if I wanted the next letter to be separate, I could do the E, and now I'll have two objects instead of one object. So I can move them separately. To move an object, you can just select it and then drag it with your mouse. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard. As long as an item is selected, you can see, I know that the K is selected because it's got a blue outline and it's got the dots around it. Also, this box is open right here, showing that the text is K. So that's how you know that it's selected. If I were to select E, this box would show up and it's showing text E. The E is highlighted. If you click on the box, it tells you that the box is selected, and then you have some customization options right here. If you don't have anything selected, then there's no information box here. Okay. I think now is the time to start with the steps of the photo frame. So I'm going to select both the K and the E, And you can do that by selecting one and then holding down Shift and selecting the other. So you can see now it's changed to shapes 2. I'm just going to go ahead and you can hit this garbage can to delete them. You can also press the delete key on your keyboard. Okay, so I need 2 boxes to start the photo frame. Now I could just click on a box here and bring another one onto the work plane. That's totally fine. But another thing that you can do is you can select this and then choose either copy or duplicate. I'm going to go ahead and just do copy. I'm on the top left here. I'm circling my cursor. It's the leftmost one, copy. You can also hit Control-C, and that will also copy it. So I press copy, and it doesn't look like anything happened, but I'm going to go ahead and move. Oh, right, yes. So nothing happened because I haven't hit paste yet. So if you do copy, you have to paste the shape in. And then if you duplicate, you don't have to do paste. But anyway, so I copy and pasted another box. So let's just go like this. And we want one box to have, okay. Let's see. Oh. Okay, so I'm not sure why the right side of the box looks like it's slanted, but I think that this is correct, and I think it's just I don't know. I'm hoping that it's just an optical illusion kind of thing, but you want one box to have the dimensions of being 10 millimeters high or 0.39 inches high, 105 millimeters wide, or 4.13 inches wide, and then 4.72 inches or 120 millimeters long. So this way is 105. This way is 120. And this way is 10. Okay. And the dimensions for this second box are 30 millimeters tall, or 1.18 inches tall, 2.95 inches or 75 millimeters wide or horizontally, and 3.35 inches or 85 millimeters long vertically. And then you want to raise this by 2 millimeters or 0.08 inches. There we are. So now you can see it's just a tiny bit off of the work plane. And we want to make the edges of each box round or rounded. So you can change this radius slider here. When you select the box, you can make it more of a circle shape. The further to the right you increase the radius, and the more to the left that you bring it, the more of a square it becomes. We're just going to set it to 2. And we're going to do the same thing with this other box. Okay. Okay. So next I'm going to show you the align tool. And this is something that you can use to make one or multiple objects centered. So I'm going to go ahead and select both shapes, both boxes, and then I'm going to go up here to this align tool. You could also press L, and that will bring up the align tool. So you can use these dots to align objects in the center, which is what we want to do with these two objects. You don't want to use these 3 dots in this particular instance, because this raises or lowers them. It aligns them up and down. We want to use the the ones that don't change their verticality. So I'm going to click on this one, and you can see doing that has kind of centered them in one way, but then I'm going to also click this one, and that will center them completely. Okay. All right, for this next part, this is a important concept in Tinkercad, and this is known as creating a hole. So right now, both of these shapes are solids, but you can see here, so right now they're solid, they're red. But if you click here, you'll turn them into holes. So we just want the this box that's in the center to become a hole. And basically what that does is it says that wherever this object is touching, basically it tells the printer don't print anything there. So you'll see in just a moment when I do. Okay, I guess both were still selected. That's okay. If you ever make a mistake, you can hit Control Z or this undo arrow. All right, let's see what happened here. Okay, so I should just have the one shape selected. It just says box. So I'm gonna choose hole. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, so right now, it's showing you kind of like a preview of what will happen if you were to complete the process. And to complete the process, you need to select both items and group them together. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on top, and you can see this smaller square is creating, oops, wow, that went really far, creating empty space within the larger square. So you can just, click on one and then shift click on the other to select both. You could also just drag your cursor, your mouse cursor, over whichever shapes you want to select and then let go. That will also select them. However you select them, once you have them selected, go ahead and hit group or Control plus G. Okay. And now you can see even more clearly what the turning the smaller box into a hole did. You can see even more clearly that there is an empty space here. And that's going to be for your picture. Okay. So for the next step in the photo frame design, we're going to need another box, and this box is going to become a hole so that we can create a slot in the side here to slide a picture into. Okay, so I'm just gonna add another box to the project, and I'll show you the dimensions in just a moment. Okay, so this box that I just created is 3 millimeters or 0.12 inches tall, 95 millimeters or 3.74 inches wide, and 95 millimeters or 3.74 inches vertically long. And we want to raise it by 4 millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. It is 4 millimeters off of the work plane, as you can see here. The other box is 0 millimeters above the work plane. Okay, and I'm going to select both items and I'm going to align them in the center again. And again, I don't want to change their verticality, so I'm just going to choose the 2 middle dots vertically and horizontally. So this is the horizontal one. And here's the vertical one. Okay. Okay, and now I need to align both objects on the right. So I'm going to click this button there. Okay, I feel like it would have been better to turn that box that I just created into a hole earlier. So keep that in mind if you're doing this a little bit after me, but let's see if I can. So I still have 2 shapes selected. Now I just have one. Okay, that wasn't too bad, but I would still turn it into a hole before aligning it. Anyways, time to press this hole icon there, and then I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I'm going to group. There we go. All right, and you can see there's now a space where you can slide your photo into. But note that this side is still solid. Okay. So next we want to rotate the frame by 90 degrees to make it stand upright. This is because we're going to be adding the stands on the back. So let's see. I think I want this one. And I'm going to just click 90. There we go. And I'm going to change this to 0. There. Okay. Okay. And my picture frame is looking still like a little angled. Like, I think maybe I might have messed with some setting when I was demonstrating how to resize objects. So hopefully yours is more flat. I don't know, but I think mine is slightly less than ideal, but that's okay. So to create the stance, you need to use the wedge. Okay, this is the wedge. So we'll go ahead and drag one onto the work plane. And for the dimensions, you're going to want 45 millimeters that way. 90 millimeters this way. And then this way, 8 millimeters. So if you want those in inches, this would be 0.31 inches. This would be 1.77 inches. And this would be 3.54 inches. Okay, and I'm thinking about how you can do this. Yeah, I think it's doable this way. I was going to say that you might want to change where the work plane is to make sure that this wedge is flush against the frame. But let's see what we can do. So we want to rotate this 90 degrees, I think. Or actually, I think it's negative 90. Yep, because we want it to turn that way. Okay. And then all right, and then we want them to overlap by 8 millimeter. I mean, this looks good. You know, I think that this is fine. Okay, for the sake of tutorial though, for this next wedge, I'm gonna click on this work plane tool. You can also press W. And you can see there's an outline of a square. And it's basically asking where do you want your work plane to be. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and I'm just gonna click here. So now 0 is gonna be flush against the back of the photo frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and put another wedge here. And now it starts out flush against the photo frame because I've put the work plane on the back. So I've changed the work plane from being down here to being vertically. It's now this yellow grid as opposed to the blue one down here. All right. And then I want to duplicate the dimensions. All right, so what are they? I think I want this to be 90. No. Let's see, undo. Here we go. I think I want this to be 90. Yep. And yeah, I think for this actually, not using the work plane would be more helpful. So I'm actually going to delete this. To get the work plane back, you can just click the work plane tool and click in that like blue square area. I think the simpler thing is to just click on this duplicate, and now I can just move the duplicated shape over. All right. So when you duplicate or when you copy, it keeps the dimensions of the object when you copied it. So that saves some time. Okay, so I want to group these three items, the picture frame and the two supports. Okay. When you group objects, they become one unit. So if you move it, all of the grouped objects move together. Whereas if they were ungrouped, then whichever ones you had selected would move, but the others would remain where they were. Okay, so you want the picture frame to be looking like this with the front facing to the left. And you want to rotate this 20 degrees. -20. Okay. I think that's right. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to push this down so that it's 15 millimeters below the work plane. Okay, so your picture frame should look like this. And the reason why we pushed it down is to make it so that the wedge shape is flat against the work plane. So you can see it's now flat as opposed to angled. Just so you know, anything below the work plane will not get printed when you print it on the 3D printer. Okay. Now we're just creating a box that we're going to turn into a hole, and we're going to use to just completely remove the parts of the photo frame below the work plane. So we'll just make it the size of the work plane or even bigger. And then we're gonna make it so that it's -20. Its height is 20. So that's just the default height of the box object. When you drag a new box onto the work plane, its default height's 20. So I didn't change that. That's why we had to move it down 20 millimeters so that it would be directly underneath the work plane. All right, we're gonna select both objects and group them. Okay. Okay. So now if you wanted to add shapes to decorate the front of your picture frame, you can. But for the actual photo frame itself, we are done. We've got the supports, we've got the indentation to see the picture, and then we've also got the indentation to slide the photo into. This, like adding decorations to the front, is definitely where I would use the work plane tool. So to demonstrate in this video, I'm just going to do a simple heart shape. So before I take the heart, I'm going to bring the work plane here. And then now when I place the heart, I'm going to place it somewhere like here. All right, and then zoom in, and let's see, I think that I want it to be not sticking out so much, so I'm going to change this from 10 to 2. And you can see that made it a lot thinner. And I think that having it rotated kind of to the left will be good. So let's see, I think it's this. Let's see, which one is it? Nope. So we don't want that one. Let's see. Is it this one? Nope. Must be this one. Yep. Okay. Okay. So 13 degrees, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna move it down. And I do wanna just, kind of reiterate or mention again that the reason that I'm having such an easy time rotating this heart and moving it around and all the while keeping it flat against the picture frame is because I put the work plane on the surface of the photo frame. If the work plane were down like where this blue outline is, that's where the work plane normally is, then when I rotated and moved the heart, it would more than likely become detached from the picture frame. And that is something that would cause the print to fail. So if the decorations were not flush against the photo frame, then when you go to print it, your print either best case scenario, the decorations just wouldn't print, but the rest of the photo frame would. Worst case, the entire print would just become derailed and you'd have to go back and fix your file in Tinkercad in that instance. All right, and yeah, I think that I might lower this just like 1 millimeter. So I'm going to go -1 because I want the work plane again is vertical as opposed to flat. So this is just to make it even more likely that the decoration will print out as opposed to being just directly flush with the photo frame. All right, so now that I'm done adding the decorations, I can go back to the normal work plane. And then when you're all done, you can go to export. And then you want to save it as an STL file. So Kira is a computer program that we have at the library. And Kira is used as an intermediary between a site like Tinkercad and the 3D printers. The 3D printers require a certain type of file in order to read the print. In order to read the file, the 3D printers have so 3D printers can only read certain types of files, and Kira can turn your STL file into the type of file that the 3D printers can read. Okay, so make sure that when you export, you choose s.stl. Okay, and that is the basics of Tinkercad. I'm not going to go into this in this tutorial, but I do want to mention that if you're wanting to use the 3D printer that has 2 nozzles, that makes it easy to print a object using 2 different colors. If you want to make use of those 2 nozzles, you have to design your file a certain way in Tinkercad. So if you're interested in that, stop by the library and I'll be happy to show you how to do that. But you can also look up videos of Tinkercad, how to design a file for multiple colors. But you should have now the basics of Tinkercad. I hope you found this informative. I hope you have great ideas of files that you can design and then print for free at the library. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact the library at 650-829-3860. A lot of staff there can answer your questions regarding 3D printers. You can also always ask for me My name again is Kenny, and I hope you have a great all right. My name is Kenny, and I hope to see you at the library's makerspace sometime soon. All right, bye.